Alright, so let's make an animated GIF from a series of still images. So the first thing we want to do is we want to open Adobe Photoshop and Adobe Bridge, and the easiest way to do that is to just go to our Applications folder. So you can do that by clicking on your desktop, just click on your desktop and hit Command-N to get a new Finder window, and then go to the top level of your hard drive, your Macintosh HD, and the first thing that you see there, or very high up near the top, should be your Applications folder. So we're going to open up Bridge CS6, and also Photoshop CS6. So then once those are open, I'm going to close my Finder window. So I'm going to use Apple Tab to get to Bridge. So I know that my series of images is on my desktop, so I'm going to use the content window to just navigate to my desktop here. And I know that it's in my ITDA folder for Intro to Digital Arts, and then inside that, Popcorn, our old friend Popcorn. So I want to select every single one of these images, and there's a couple ways to do that. I can click and drag on the content window and make a selection box to grab them all. I can also click on the first one and hold down Shift and click on the last one and get them all. Or I can click on the content window and hit Command-A to select all. So however you want to do it, if you have another set of images and you need all of them, that works. So we're going to grab them all here. And then we're going to send these to Photoshop. So the way that we do that is we go up to the menu bar, and you can see where it says Bridge CS6, and then File, Edit, View, Stacks, Label, and Tools. So we're going to click on Tools. And then one of the menu items in Tools is Photoshop. It's the second to last one. And what we're going to do is we're going to select the option that says Load Files into Photoshop Layers. So we're going to click that. And then what that does is that is going to make a Photoshop layer, you can see it populating over here on the right, for every single image that we selected in Bridge. And the way that layers work is it's kind of like it's like having layers of pieces of paper, or even like a layer cake, that they are on top of one another. So you can see that when I make this invisible, when I make the top layer invisible by clicking the eye, it disappears to reveal the layer below it, and so on and so forth, all the way down my stack of layers, so that when I get to the last one, if I make it invisible, I'm going to see the empty Photoshop canvas. So if I just click this one up here, my top layer, and I show that, that's the only thing there. And then if I show this, this is the only one you see, right? So of course, if I make my top layer visible and then start making things visible underneath it, I'm not going to be able to see that they're showing up, right? Because my top layer is blocking them. So that's how layers work. So what we're going to do now is we are going to get these into the timeline, and you can see my timeline window is already open, but I'm going to close it just in case yours isn't automatically opening. So what you do is back up at the menu again, right? We have File, Edit, Image, Layer, Type, Select, Filter, 3D, View, and then Window. So in the Window menu item, if you're in CS6, you're going to be looking for the timeline option, which is down here. If you're in CS5, it's going to be animation. So it's going to be somewhere back up towards here, but here. So I'm in CS6, so I'm going to hit timeline. And then you can see the timeline window pops up at the bottom. This is another thing that's going to be different between CS5 and CS6. In CS6, you might see this thing that says Create Frame Animation, which is exactly what we want to do. So I'm just going to click that. And then there we have it. We have one frame of our popcorn, which isn't too interesting. So we want to get all 10 of our layers to become frames so that we can animate them. And the way that we do that is we go over here to the timeline, or in CS5 animation windows, menus. So we click on the menu button, and we have the menu for this window. So then, you can see like all of the other windows, they all have different menus for the different things that they're able to do. And so this one here, we're going to click this one. And what we're going to do is we're going to make frames from layers. And so what that does is that makes a frame, right, from every layer that we have. And the way that you can think about frames is that they happen in time, right? So like the first one happens first, and then the second one, and then the third, and then the fourth, and then the fifth, so that these happen sequentially, not like how layers happen on top of one another. These happen one after the other, right? So that if I hit play, they will animate. And the reason this stopped is because in my timeline window, I have my repetitions set to once. So I'm going to just click on where it says once, and I'm going to change that to forever so that it will loop and loop and loop forever and ever and ever. So then let's talk about a couple of the other things you can do in the timeline window. So I can also, so right now these are set to have no gap of time between each frame. It's 0 seconds. So the animated GIF is going to play as fast as possible. So let's say I want to make that slower. Let's say I want to make that slower. Can't make it faster than no pause. So I'm going to highlight all of them, all of my frames, and then I'm going to click any one where the timing is, and I have a little menu that pops up that shows me what my options are for changing timing. So let's change them all to 1 second. So this now means that there will be a 1 second delay before the next frame is shown. So you're going to look at every frame for 1 second. And you don't need to change them all to the same thing. Like I could make this one half a second and make this one 2 tenths and make this one 1 second and change some of these to no delay. So that some of them, so that it has this kind of jerky motion to it, right? That one's going to be a little bit, there we go, a little bit fast, a little bit slow, a little bit faster, super fast. There we go. So the other thing we can do is we can also take frames and rearrange them. You might not want to do that depending upon what you're doing, because it will make your animation maybe a little jerky, you know, like you're going to sort of jump back in time for one frame. But if that's what you're into, go for it. And then the last thing we can do is we can highlight frames that we like. Let's say I just want all of them. And I can go over back to the menu, the timeline menu, and I can copy these frames. And then I'm going to highlight the last frame, just the last frame, and then I can paste them as well. And then I get some options here where I can replace frames, and there are no frames after where we're going to paste, so that's not going to happen at all. So you can paste over selection. We only have one thing selected, so that's also not really going to make a difference, though sometimes that's useful. We can paste before selection, which I don't want to do. I don't want to insert my 10 frames before the 10th frame that I have selected right now, or I can paste after selection, which is exactly what I want to do. So I want to do that. And now we have the exact same animation twice in a row, which isn't really going to look too much different in here. Actually, I'm going to make them all. The timing that I tend to like is 0.03. Boop. So that's not too interesting. It's just the same thing twice in a row. So I'm going to grab the last 10 frames, frame 11 through 20, and I'm going to go back to the menu and I'm going to reverse them. So what that does now is that I'm going to have a bowl of popcorn that spins once in one direction and then back in the other direction. Back and forth popcorn. So that is how to get layers into Photoshop from Bridge and how to get them into the timeline to make an animated GIF. So in the next video, we're going to talk about how to make an animated GIF from a video file. And then in the third video, we will talk about how to export both of those GIFs so that you can get them onto the internet where people can see them and love them. So I'll see you in the next video about making an animated GIF from a digital video file.